Beautiful. Okay, so you can use inferencing in a lot of other subjects because really it helps you to understand a topic or what an author is trying to tell you, or sometimes just what is the problem. You have to look for clues and use not only what is given to you, but what you also know. So inferencing is something that we do all the time. Here's an example. So in this picture, this is what we know. We have two dogs sitting in the kitchen with a spilled over trash can. What happened?
He tore up the trash can.
We could certainly inference that the dogs tipped over the trash can, pulled everything out, and made a huge mess. Now we don't know that. You know, maybe the person kicked over the trash can by mistake and didn't have time to pick it up, and the dogs just happened to walk by and see it. But knowing what we know about dogs, knowing what we know about what's in the trash can, which is likely something that smells pretty tantalizing to a dog, we can infer that it was the dogs who kicked over the trash can and wanted to find out what was inside. And that's what an inference is. It's taking what we know and taking what we can see or what the author has told us and putting it together to make an educated guess about what has happened or what something is like. Here's another, a little bit more challenging situation. What is going on in this picture?
Well, he has on the gas mask.
Yes, he does.
It looked like he could be polluting something out the air, or looking for something or curing something, because he's all covered up in mask.
Yeah. Look at the background. Don't look beyond that, the man. Look at the cars. Do they look like modern day cars?
No, okay, so it looked like they're like a little bit back in time.
Yes. And look at the way, in particular, the little girls are dressed. And maybe the man who's holding their hands, who we could infer would be their father. Look at that suit jacket. That doesn't look the way people dress these days, does it?
No.
No. So we can infer that this happened maybe 30 years ago, maybe 40. And if we know anything about that time, which maybe I would not have put this together. I had to read up on this photograph to figure it out. I could tell that it wasn't contemporary, but I couldn't figure out, why does the guy have on that suit? And the way the people are looking at him, they obviously are curious about it too. This was about the time that a nuclear accident happened at 3 Mile Island. And this man in the hazmat suit is actually going to a protest about nuclear, against nuclear power, saying that it's too dangerous. In his mind, you know, his opinion, we can infer if he's going to a protest, is that his opinion is that nuclear power is not safe. So we could figure out that this picture happened some time ago, we could see that the man had on some kind of suit. Your inference was maybe he's actually measuring something, trying to figure out. And we just didn't have enough information to really come up with, the actual situation. So sometimes we need to find out more, but we can make at least an educated guess about what's going on. We can tell from the way the people are looking at him that this is not a normal situation. If this was something that happened all the time, people would have been walking past without looking at him. So that sometimes happens. We don't have enough background information to get exactly what is going on. It's important to know what kind of questions are being asked. So there are really 4 kinds of questions that you can be asked after you've read a passage, or when you're trying to understand something. The question can be right there in front of you, like it's stated right there in the text. If we were taking the picture of the dogs, this kind of question would be, what animals are in the picture? Dogs. What color are they? Black. What's on the floor? Trash. Things that we can see, and it's right there. All we have to do is go back and look at the picture or the text to find the answer. So we call those right there questions. Another kind of question is called think and search. So the answer is in the text, but maybe more than one place. So we have to think about the question and then find the answer and put it together. So in the case of the picture of the man in the hazmat suit, if we had read the article that went along with that picture, we would have known about the protest against nuclear power, and we could have put together that the man was on his way to the protest. And the kinds of questions that we are talking about are what we call author and me. These are questions where the question is asking me to take some information from the text and put together with it something that I know. So in the situation with the dogs, we could put together that because we know about dogs and the fact that they love things that smell delicious to them, maybe not to us, but to them, that they likely were the ones who took over the trash can and spread their trash all around. The picture didn't tell us that. We had to know that about dogs. But what we got was 2 dogs, trash on the floor, trash can tipped over. What we know about dogs is they love to go for smelly things. So that must be what happened. Notice that it says here, the reader must read between the lines because there is not exactly in the text. So, questions that say, how can you tell? How do you know? Those are inference questions. So you're looking for clues and evidence, and you have to prove your answer with details. There's one other kind of question, and that is on my own, in my head. So that's when you've read a text and then you have to do you believe, how do you know, how would you do blah, 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 what have you ever? So it's a question about, it's helping you to put together your story and onto something in the text. You know what the text is about, but you also have to come up with some experience. So if we were talking about the man, the picture, man that was protesting, maybe a question would be, have you ever felt strongly enough to participate in a protest? And that way you can put together the idea that if the man cared enough to get dressed up in a hazmat suit and walk through the city to go to the protest, this is something he feels strongly about. I can understand that because I have felt strongly enough to participate in whatever kind of protest that you might have participated in. Or maybe the question would be, do you believe that, this kind of protesting makes a difference? Those are just your own opinions. They are not something that you're looking for in the text. But you do have to base your answer on the text. So let's keep going on some inferencing. Let's take a look at this. This is a political cartoon or an editorial cartoon where Uncle Sam, who represents the United States, is putting a medal on someone. What kind of job do you think this person has?
Um, a living wage. Look like he's a doctor.
Well, he looks like he's in the medical field for
Yeah.
sure. If he's asking about a living wage, what can you infer about this person?
A living wage.
Yeah, what does that, do you know?
What is a living wage? Is that the amount of money he's being paid?
A living wage would be enough money so that feed your family, provide a housing of some sort.
Okay, like a salary.
Yeah, yeah. So, we are in a situation where there are people who are not being paid enough, even though they're working a full-time job. The money that they make is not enough.
Right, it's not enough.
And that would be a living wage. So are doctors usually in that category?
Are doctors in the category of receiving living wages? Yes.
Yeah, they usually get living wage. Who in the healthcare field does not get a living wage?
Right. They
Do you
definitely
know?
deserve it. Oh, who
Yeah.
in the healthcare field does not get living wage?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I don't know. I guess maybe people, a nurse or a caregiver or an aide,
Yes.
um, they would
Yes.
get paid like hourly instead of like
Right.
yearly.
Right. The people in nursing homes, the caregivers in rehab centers where, people are trying to recover from strokes and, um, a broken hip. I've had some experience with this. My mother-in-law has had to be in some of those places because we couldn't care for her. And I always worried about the people there, whether they were making a living wage. And it's very difficult. It's hard. The people need a lot of care. And, we don't necessarily pay them what it's worth to take care of people. So, what can you infer about this situation here? What do you think the artist, the cartoonist, was trying to say?
they're trying to say that he's giving the doctor a reward for being a good hero, for being a good
Mm-hmm.
doctor.
Do we think
And
this is? Do we think this is a doctor?
the doctor, the one who, the doctor is the one who has on the mask.
Right. But if the doctor is asking for, or if that person is asking for a living wage, do we think that would be a doctor?
Yes, yes.
Why do you say that?
Um, because doctors have living wages.
Right. But he's saying a living wage would also be nice.
Oh, I didn't read the quote right. I think I thought it was saying he was asking for a living wage. Well, he kind of is asking for a living wage. So he's making a suggestion that not only do he get the reward, but he also wants to know if he can get a raise.
Correct. And so I think the opinion of the cartoonist is that people who do some of our hardest, most dangerous work, giving them a medal is a good idea, or thanking them for their work is a good idea. But wouldn't it also be nice if they were able to support their family and
Right.
if they care enough to also increase their salaries? Okay, so you can infer that this cartoonist thinks that thanking people is great, but paying them a living wage would be better. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Whoops. Okay. So here are the books on one person's bookshelf. These are the titles: Adolescence, Reading and Learning to Read, Smart Questions, and Inside Words. What can you infer about this person?
Um. Here. Okay. What does adolescent mean?
Teenagers. When you are
Um.
when you are an adolescent, you are a teenager.
Okay. Um. Smart questions. That they are smart. That bookshelf. That they're smart. And they like to read. Um.
I'm going to
They
give you
they like books. They like books.
I'm going to give you the name of one more book on this person's bookshelf. The Passionate Teacher.
The passionate teacher.
Uh-huh.
They're a teacher.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and yes, in fact, those actually are on my bookshelf. So, um, that those books, The Adolescent, was is a book about um, teens because I was teaching middle school and high school. So I needed to know about kids who were preteen and teenagers. Um, Reading and Learning to Read is a book about teaching reading. Smart Questions is actually a book about math and how to ask questions in math. And Inside Words is about vocabulary. So those are all books about teaching. And so a person who had those books, who cared enough to buy those books, is likely someone who is an educator of some kind. Oops, here we go. And here are some titles of books on another person's bookshelf. The Heart of a Leader, Leading Cultural Change in a Global Business, Every Business is a Growth Business, and Transforming Leadership. What can you infer about this person?
Um, Entrepreneur. They're entrepreneur.
Again?
I don't know. This is hard. This is hard. I had to stop and think for a second. Like, this not math. This hard.
Did you say something when I asked you, because I couldn't hear you? I think there was some clatter on your phone, but I think you said a word.
I said I think they're an entrepreneur.
And that's what I thought you said. Absolutely. This is,
Yay!
yeah, it wasn't hard. You knew it. You know,
Yay!
these are the books on the bookshelf behind me, which is my husband's bookshelf. And he has a ton of books about business, and he is very interested in leadership within business and entrepreneurship. It's one of his really big passions. So good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Um, Here we go. So here's a passage that we want to take a look at. It's called SelfHelp, and the subtitle is A Young Scientist is Searching for the Cure to the Disease That Could Kill Him. 30-year-old Jeff Carroll is fit and healthy, but he knows he won't stay that way forever. Carroll has seen the future. He has the gene for Huntington's disease, an incurable, fatal, neurological brain disorder. Carroll doesn't have any symptoms yet, and he's not willing to wait around for the disease to claim him. As a neuroscience researcher at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, he is searching for a cure. So let's see. Whoops, where did that go? Okay. What can you infer about Jeff Carroll based just on these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences? He has an incurable, fatal neurological disorder. And what is he doing?
Um. Okay, so he has a disease, but he knows the disease isn't going to work. I mean, though he knows the cure isn't going to work.
He is right now searching for a cure. What does that tell us about him?
That he specializes in medicine.
Yes. What else?
That he is sick.
How many people do you know who have a, well, you may not know anybody who has an incurable disease, but can you imagine what most people's response would be to finding out that they have an incurable disease?
What would most people response be?
Yeah.
I think most people respond would be would congratulate him to look for a cure um for his
Yeah.
disease.
I think most people who found out that they had a disease would react in two different ways, an incurable disease. Either you would be depressed and say, why me? Or you might say, so I can do anything. It doesn't really matter because I know I'm not going to live very long. Um, so, what I would say about this young man is that it's impressive to me. I think he's very determined and optimistic
Right.
because,
Okay.
yeah, because he's got a, he he knows that even if he was in the medical field before all this started, to be focusing on the disease that could um, kill him is saying, I am very determined. I feel like I can make a difference. So he's got a sense of responsibility and of ownership over this problem that he has. So I would think of him as being very optimistic and having a lot of perseverance, someone who has a lot of grit, and instead of taking the easy way out, which is to be depressed or live your life thinking, well, what the heck, it doesn't matter, I'm going to die soon anyway, is to make a difference for yourself and for other people with this gene.
Yeah, that was kind of the feeling that I had got before, but I didn't want to say it because I didn't know if it was right. Like, well, he don't care about his life.
uh, yeah, well, you always be willing to say what's on your mind, because
Okay.
even if it's not exactly in the right direction, it
Say that again.
it helps us, even if it's not exactly right, it gives us a chance to see what you're thinking and to to see where you're headed. So that helps us out. Making a mistake or saying something wrong is never a problem. It's the way we learn.
Okay.
Okay. Let's look at the next thing. So this is another passage. Uh, this is from GED prep test, and it says music scores. Got music? Learning to play music is linked to improved academic test scores. More than 200 second graders were studied. Some were trained on piano keyboard and math software. Others used only the software. In 6 months, piano scored higher on math. Means that making music taps into musical middle and high school students score well too. The College Entrance Examination Board compared students with no music background to student musicians. Students in the music programs scored 63 points higher on verbal and 44 points higher on math. UCLA examined the test scores of 25,000 students in grades 8 to 12 over a period of 10 years. Researchers found that students with a high interest in instrumental music scored higher in math know-how than did others. Do you like music, Tylisha?
I love music.
Do you play
I love
music?
music. Yes, I do play music. Music sometimes can mess with people's thoughts. So even when I listen to music, I still make sure that I stand firm and not let the words of the lyrics move me from any position that I'm in my life, because music can change people.
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Do you play any instrument yourself?
No, I don't, but I long to play the piano.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
really want to learn how to play the piano.
That, well, I'm sure you will. If you figure out how to get yourself a piano, I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
We have a tutor on the west side named Margot Hudson, who is in her 50s, and she just learned how to play the piano over the last couple years.
Oh, for real? That's cool. That's
Yeah.
Wow.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
my dad took piano lessons when he retired. He was in his 70s when he started playing. Um, he never got very good, but he enjoyed it.
Mhm.
All right.
So it's
Well,
never too late to start.
yeah, it's
No,
never too late to start. And it's so easy. You just use your fingers to make this beautiful sound that everybody loves.
right, right. He loved playing. He played hymns and he sang, and he just wanted to be good enough to play hymns and sing.
Great.
Yeah, he was. I was proud of. Okay, so here's the first question: what part of the brains does making music tap into? So, what kind of question is this? Is this a right there question? Was that in the text? If we go back to the text, will we find it there?
I can't remember.
Okay, let's go back and look. So the question is, of what part what part of the brain music
What part of the what?
what part of the brain does music tap into?
Oh gosh.
So I'm reading the first paragraph, and it says that learning music is linked to improved academic. Computers were studied. Some were trained on piano keyboard and math software. Others used only the software. After 6 months, piano players scored higher on math tests. It seems that making music taps into parts of the brain involved with reasoning. So let's go back. And nope, let's go forward. So which parts of the brain does making music tap into? Parts involved with advertising, the parts involved with reasoning, parts involved.
B.
Yeah, that is a right there question. It was right
Yeah,
there.
it was right there.
All you had to do was go back and read it, and there it was. Okay. How might a musician experience life differently than someone who does not play or listen to music? Is that a right there question? Is that a think and search? Like I have to put some things together? An author in you an interesting question? Or is that just totally on your own?
I don't know. We would have to go back and see.
Okay, let's go back. Uh, and higher on math, that students with a high interest in instrumental music.
The toolbar. Okay, there it is.
Say it
Researchers
again.
found that students Researchers found that students with high interest in instrument music score higher in math know-how than the others. Hmm. So students who play instrument score high on math tests?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think it makes sense because instruments is kind of hard to learn just as well as math. So if you probably can conquer playing a trombone or learning the tools and which buttons to press to make the right kind of tune, it could be the same with math. If you remember all of the steps and skills to solve a math equation, then you should be able to remember all the tunes to hit on an instrument. I don't know. I just
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it. So you've tapped into two things, or you've said it's difficult. So if you have the perseverance to stick with learning an instrument and to stick with math, and you also so if you can remember all the steps and the music notation, you can remember what that means. That so the question that we had was, how might a musician experience life differently than someone who does not play or listen to music? Is that right there in that passage?
yes, yes, because if you don't, um, okay, so a musician life's differs from someone who does not play music instrument or listen to music. It's different because the musician can benefit off playing instruments such as passing a math test. Um, a someone who does not listen to or play music or instruments has a lesser chance of passing that math test because they don't play music instrument.
Okay, so that was
I,
right there in the text. Can you go a little bit further and tell me, how do you think that would impact someone beyond just passing the test? Then what does that do for you? How does how would that change your life?
can I go back to the passage?
I'm going to tell you, it's not in the passage. This is
Okay,
you have to make an inference here. So
okay.
you said that someone who is a musician or who had studied music, had a lot of experience with music, um, would probably do better on math tests. Then what? If he did better on a math test, then what? Then what
He could
happens?
do if he can do better on a math test, then it can open up doors. It can open up other doors for him in life that can be beneficial. Like he can get into a university, or he could be a math tutor, or he can he can um he can go to like Broadway or like music, go theaters and things like that.
Beautiful. So a musician might have someone who has some musical background might have more doors open to them in college, getting into college, and what their careers are like. Um, and something that you said was very that music can change a person. So how can you tie that in to how a musician might experience life differently than someone who does not play or listen to music?
Yes. Um, there. a musician, a musician, a physician can have more opportunities in life to go towards than someone who does not listen or specialize or study music. So their life might be a little more entertaining. It might be a little persuasive. It might be a little more richer. Um, it might be a little faster than versus someone who does not um, study music. It might be a little louder. like
Beautiful.
what you.
There you go. And something that I have thought about, I haven't seen a lot of
Say that
research on
again.
something that I have thought about, but I haven't done the research on this to see, is that math emphasizes patterns. So you're looking for patterns a lot in when you're doing math, if you're doing some higher thinking with math. And I think music is a lot about patterns as well. We finished this question. Let's go on to one more. Yep, this is the last one. I came across a photograph of him not long ago, his black face with the long snout, sniffing at something in the air, his tail straight and pointing, his eyes flashing in some momentary excitement. Looking at a faded photograph taken more than 40 years before, even as a grown man, I would admit I still missed him. This is the beginning paragraph from a book called My Dog Skip by Willie Morris. So even before we knew that the title of the book was My Dog Skip, we knew that this paragraph was about a dog, even though it didn't tell us that, because it says a black face with a long snout, sniffing at something in the air, his tail straight and pointing, his eyes flashing in some momentary excitement. This can only be about a dog. And then that is an inference that we can take from the information that is there. So here's the information in the text: the black face, long snout, sniffing, tail straight and pointing. Those are the clues that tell us that this is about a dog. And then we can confirm that because here's the title, My Dog Skip. Another question that we would have is, how does the author feel about this dog? So,
Oh,
yeah, go
did you
ahead.
want me to offer an answer?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, I would say he probably feels, sort of a sense of loss or loving sadness, sort of a mourning the dog.
Yeah, yeah. I would think that we know that this is a dog from a long time ago. Number one, he has a photograph that was taken 40 years ago, so that tells us it was some time ago. But he says, even as a grown man, so this is looking back over time, and I would admit that I still missed him. Well, if you missed something or someone from a long time ago, that would tell me that it was something that was important to you. And I also take it from his description, this black face with the long snout, sniffing at something in the air, his tail straight and pointing, his eyes flashing in some momentary excitement. That to me is a very detailed, loving description. I feel like I can see this dog, and it's not just, he was a black dog um, with a long tail. This is telling me that there was a relationship there between these two, um, between the two beings, the boy and his dog. And bringing into something that I know about this, that I know that people can be very close to their dogs. I've had a dog I was very close to, a dog that I felt was very special. And so in this one description, I can feel something about what this author is trying to communicate to me, that this dog was very important to him and that this dog was very special in some way, a very special animal. So if you're thinking about a dog whose eyes are flashing in some momentary excitement, to think that you are reading something into the eyes of an animal tells me that you think that this dog is very special, is something more than just a dog who's getting food and taking a walk, but that is a dog who is sharing your life. So those are the inferences that I can make from this very short passage. As I'm looking back, I see it's really only 2 sentences. And look how much we can infer from that the author is telling us without saying, I love this dog very much. This dog was a very special animal. We shared a lot of good times. But he's told us all that in 2 sentences in the word choice that he has made and in the details that he presents about this dog. So that is my take on inferencing. I hope it was helpful.